And welcome to the Lanyap Show, everybody, on remote location at the Chris Logan Media Studios. I'm John. You can catch the Lanyap Show. It is a South Louisiana-based podcast on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and everywhere you can get an audio version of a podcast. You can find the Lanyap Show there. It's a long-form talk format podcast. And because of that, we're doing something a little bit different this week, and that means, well, some of the audience might not like the long-form podcast, so we're going to get to the meat and potatoes right away. This is Chris from Chris Logan Media, who's allowing us to come into the studios, and, man, he did something big recently. He birthed the planet.
Yeah. I gave birth to the planet.
That's it. The planet.
Yeah. Kind of weird, like being part of your show in my studio. But I know that I told you when I started this thing that mi casa su casa, and you could come here anytime you like. And when you asked me to come on the podcast, I was all about it. And so here I am. I'm not leading. You're leading. We're on the Lanyap podcast. We're drinking and talking about the planet. Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah. We'll get started. An online radio station called The Planet. And like I said, this is a South Louisiana-based podcast. Sometimes we talk about other stuff, but this one in particular, if you grew up anywhere around here, around our age, you know exactly what we're talking about. And you launched an online version of something that has been very missing from the fabric of Acadiana for quite some time. Something that was a monumental FM radio station. And you brought that thing back.
I did, man. I'm going to call it a leap of faith. So I was in the radio world. I was in the corporate radio world. Just a quick backstory on how I got here at Chris Logan Media and how I launched the planet. So I was let go. Do we say the name of stations, or does it matter? I'll say I got let go from a local station that starts with a K and ends with a B, part of a large corporation. So they had a vaccine mandate. I did not take the vaccine, so I ended up losing my job. And I was kind of pushed to do my own thing. I started Chris Logan Media. Now, when they let me go, they still held me to my non-compete. So I couldn't I couldn't work for any other media station for 6 months. And that included audio podcasting. Because when I was there at that station, I had an audio podcast, so I couldn't do that. I couldn't be part of any internet radio station or anything like that. So I got approval to do some YouTube content. And so I started doing the show called Class Reunion with Chris Logan. But in the back of my head, I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to wait until April 12th to do it. So when January of this year hit, my wheels started turning, and that's when I started putting things together for the station. And, for many years and talking to a few other people that we're also friends with in the industry, they were in agreement that this music, the 90s and 2000s rock that I'm playing on the planet is missing. And no FM station was taking a chance on it, and you mentioned something about it being for people our age. So if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, even early 50s, because the local Planet Radio here was launched in 97, and that Planet Radio again wasn't proprietary. Is that the right word to use? Like, to this area, because to this day, there's still other Planet radios around the country. There's still the Planets. When the Planet station was started here back in 97, they copied off of another station that was in Jacksonville. So it was just one of those things. But that music, I feel, was missing. Like, it's the music that I grew up with, the music you grew up with. It's that age group. It was the station that when I started in radio, that's where I started doing the night show, and it meant a lot to me. And I decided, I'm like, okay, well, you're talking all this mess about this is the music missing, nobody's doing it. Well, put your money where your mouth is and do it, and I did it.
And I'm very proud of you for it. I got to say that. I've mentioned this several times during my show. One of the things I love most is to get the culture back into the hands of the people and not the corporations. So much of it comes down to money and all these woke corporations now, and just get it back to the people, man. Let the creativity run wild. And so I like to think I helped encourage some parts of your journey there. Just go for it, man. Do it.
You were one of the few. I'll say that you were one of the few that was in my circle and knew my plan. You were one of the early ones to listen to it before anyone else did. Got some of your input, and I appreciate that. And it's funny because, for the station, and we do 90s and 2000s rock, which, by the way, before we kind of get into the music and stuff, if you go to listentotheplanet.com, that's my website. And as we mentioned, it's exclusively online. So you can listen on the website. You can download the app, which if you have an Android, Google Play, you search for Listen to the Planet. If you have an iPhone, App Store, that's Listen to the Planet. It's on the iHeart platform. You search for Listen to the Planet if you're already listening to music there. On Alexa, you can enable the Planet Online skill. Then you say, Alexa, play the Planet Online. There's an HTML5 player that I have pinned up on the Planet Facebook page. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram all follows Listen to the Planet. And real quick, too, that comes back. I had to maneuver my names on these platforms because Planet Radios were taken, Planet Rocks were taken, all this other stuff. So I had to switch it up a little bit. Listentotheplanet.com was the website, so that's where I decided to name all my apps and kind of have it all follow the same thing. But I'm following, I guess, all what I've learned in radio since 1999. But also in the back of my head, and you know this about me, and I'm not saying that FM radio is dead, but this whole digital thing is taking over and it's opening up new avenues.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the reasons why I wasn't that nervous to start this. Now, but this would have been 6-7 years ago. I don't know. It's a big step to do it on my own, but how do people consume music now? Especially if you're younger. Like my son's 21, and ever since he could drive, it was go into the vehicle and he puts the aux cord or the USB cable or whatever. Yes. And that's how people consume music now. They still do on FM radio. They do, but there's another avenue to consume music, and I figured if there's any time to do it, now's the time.
Well, we're both in radio. I'm going on my 20th year, and just like you, I don't like to say the names of the stations necessarily. I don't like to lead on to that much stuff, but that world always leaks into what I do. But it's been part of my argument recently, like, okay, as a radio station, what do we have to offer? Well, we play music. Yep. Okay, great. So does, I can just pull this out here. And in 3 seconds, I have access
and play what you want.
Any song that's been recorded since 1941 or whatever.
Whatever it is, yep.
And even the stuff that never got played on the radio, I'm not going to say some of those songs, but man, go look up some old jazz songs.
Yep.
They got some wild stuff. On mine, I'll say it, and kids, plug your ears. But there's a tune called the Rotten Cocksucker's Ball or something like that. And it's like a jazz tune from the 40s, and awesome. There's a whole avenue of music that has not been opened up yet, but I don't know why I'm on that tangent. I heard that song earlier today, and it was one of those things. But okay, you got to offer more. What are you offering the public now? And I'm on that train of thought where I'm thinking the idea should be taking a wider show, a format, and yeah, you're going to export some of it into the FM radio format, but you got to be something bigger than that now. It's a matter of technology and changing when you go from one channel, which was AM radio, right? And then all of a sudden FM came along, and then you started getting producers producing music in two channels, and it didn't always sound right. In on a mono channel, and or music was recorded right that, and when you bring it the opposite way, like the Beach Boys, we did that one time on an AM radio station, and you were just getting a bass track and the background singers.
That was it.
No drums or nothing else. It sounded really weird. So, but it's a matter of technology where, okay, well, we got two channels now. Then I like the Dolby Digital stuff. I like to make music that sounds like you got stuff coming from behind you in front, just like the movie theater. And then TV comes along, and okay, now can you? It used to be they were doing dramas on radio. Then the screen came along, and all the movie content went that way, and radio was just like, well, we'll still play music. And then MTV came along, and you got Video Killed the Radio Star and all of that. I think it's another era, another technology that has come along, and I don't think radio is going to die. So as long as they can catch on and hold on by the coattails and get drug along and be another avenue to export, but the show itself has to be bigger. That includes video format, and that includes that includes podcasting, where the video is available any time you want. And this show is pre-recorded, by the way. It will be on a Friday night, and people will be like, well, John, I missed your show, because I normally do it live on my personal Facebook page on Fridays. It's still there. It's still there. It's podcasting. Welcome to the internet. It's available on multiple platforms. You can share it. You can stop. You can go potty, come back, or you can watch it while you're on the potty, man. And it's just a way technology is moving forward. We're going to get into Planet Radio and what it meant and that style of music. Again, let them know how they can listen. And I want to touch on your other ventures that you're doing here as well, because Chris Logan Media is more than the planet.
Yes.
Something's
it
more
is.
than the planet. The planet's pretty big.
The planet is big. But yeah, so Chris Logan Media, which I started when I got let go from radio. I started doing social media management for some companies. I started doing some content creation for people, doing a few videos for them. And I kind of had to watch myself again with my non-compete. Like I'm not an agency by any means. So, doing a lot of that. And this, where we are right now, is a podcast studio.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, you can hit a
camera
wide
over
shot
here
if you want.
This is a wide shot. What's up?
Hey, so my plan, and again, I got so busy off the bat, more busy than what I was expecting, but was great because there were a lot of people supporting my decision and supporting what I was doing. So that kind of took my social media management and stuff, that skyrocketed, which was great. But, like my show, which is Class Reunion, that kind of got put on the back burner because I was doing all that. And then the podcast studio promotion, that kind of got put on the back burner too because I was just so busy with my social media stuff. But now things are settling a little bit. I mean, I launched a friggin' online radio station. It's not settling at all.
It's blasting off.
But the podcast studio, that's an idea I had, and I do have a few clients. I am not aggressively pursuing clients. I will take clients. I will get into aggressively pursuing some. But what I do is start to finish. So the clients that I have now, I have one where I record on site with her. And in a couple hours, we'll do 4 episodes. And so I go meet her. We're in her office. She has a very nice office. It sounds great acoustically, which was one big reason I agreed to do it there. I have another one, which we just started. They come in here. We do audio and video for them. Have another couple people that I'm talking to. They want to do audio, which they're going to come here in the studio. We didn't set a date yet, but they're kind of busy launching a few other things, and they have busy plates and full plates like I do. But yeah, this podcast studio, man, that's something that I'm excited about. And can help from creating the artwork to creating the platform, creating, what I do is I use this one platform where I can upload the audio, and then I can set up the other platforms like Apple, Google, Spotify, everything from there. So it's one upload, and then it pushes it out to all that. So you can be on all the major platforms, and we just do it off of one website.
Yeah, and that's when I say, hey, you can listen to the Lanyap Show anywhere you get your audio podcast.
Yeah.
It's because you just syndicate that thing
All over.
everywhere and set it and forget it. You don't really have to worry about it, although I'm going to have to either delete or up my tier from my audio host right now. I've got gigs and gigs. Because my shows are like sometimes 3 hours, 3.5 hours
pretty long.
long.
It is long form. Yep.
So I'm going to have to do something. So just heads up for those of you that do subscribe. I want to hold on to some of these shows, so I may just take them off circulation and keep them personally because I lost my co-host. And he's said some pretty funny stuff. He was a funny guy. And I want to keep some of those episodes. And so I want to re-download them, and I'll store them, and if anybody ever wants them, I'll have them. But we're going to have to make some space because I don't know if I'm ready to pay the price for the next audio tier. But
those tiers can get pretty pricey. I know that for a fact with the Planet. And so, a little side note, I don't want to jump in front of what you're doing, but for me, we're a little over 2 weeks in, and I am almost at what I subscribed for a full month.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Which is a great feeling. Man, over the past 2 weeks, like so many people have reached out. I got a message this morning from a girl, and she said, man, you're bringing back so many memories with this music. Like, she's like, I recently lost my dad. Like she said, I remember driving in the car, going to school, listening to this music, and she was like, it brings back so many memories. Thank you for bringing it back. And man, it's those things and those messages that just mean the world to me. And I'm thinking, okay, I did the right thing. And so it just makes me feel good. The sponsors that I have, I don't want to oversell the station. That's not the point to it. I don't want to get rich with it. I don't, I want to, be able to kind of pay my streaming fees and take that money and put it back in the station, marketing, growing it more and stuff like that. And everyone who's reached out, I think I reached out to one person about being a sponsor. And that person was also kind of in the know about what I was doing. And he's like, well, when you do that, I'm on board. Almost everybody else reached out to me and said, I want to be a sponsor. What can I do? And just, that was a great feeling. Just the messages from people like, man, this was missing. You were right. This was missing. I saw somebody else comment on another post that someone shared yesterday. I was listening to 90s rock on Pandora, but this is so much better. So
if you listen to Pandora, you're going to get the same playlist, a couple of songs made juxtaposition, but you're going to get like 30 songs basically.
Yeah.
And then you'll just go on repeat, and the playlist will be the same playlist. If you really like those 30 songs, that's fine. The order, like I said, the order will change up every now and again, but that's what you're going to get, but it's just not going to be the same.
Yep.
And part of the reason you're getting those people so enthusiastic to want to be a part of it is because they remember what Planet was all those years ago. And I think it's important to talk about the impact. When Planet started, it was kind of almost like a renegade radio station. You were young into your career.
Yep.
I was still I was in middle school, so it was perfectly geared towards me because I was the angsty teen.
Yep.
I listened to a lot of punk, so I have a love-hate relationship. We'll get into that later.
Okay, I want to know more about that. I do. You told me that off the air.
But half of what Planet played, I really liked. And again, it was a gap that was missing back then, just like it's missing now. And those people grew up with that, and it changed things. So talk about the renegade radio days of Planet.
Well, it was, man. And you see, so I came in, I guess I got my start in radio late 99, and I was doing some, just some part-time work at the time for different radio stations there. But I remember when the local station launched in 97, and I remember just coming across the station and listening to it, and Prodigy was playing.
Prodigy.
I think it was Firestarter. And I'm thinking, what is this on the radio? Just one of those moments, like, what is this? Because it sounded different. In those first few years for Planet really sounded different because it was being programmed locally. It was new. Not just to this market, it was new around the country. All this music was, whether it was Prodigy or whether it was playing some classic alternative from the early '90s or the mid '90s. The guys that were there were trying to piece it together and really just trying to make it work. And I think it really wasn't until probably late 90s, early 2000s, where it really started to gain some legs and really started to pop. But I think that some of that in the reason for its success, especially late 90s, early 2000s. Let's see, I started doing the night show. I guess it was 2001. Until probably somewhere around the end of 2003. Then I moved to another radio station that we had started. But that early 2000s, like them or not, call them rock or not, but the Creeds, the Three Doors Downs, all those bands took rock into the pop world. And I feel, and this is just my opinion, but music comes in waves.
Yes.
Record labels will jump on different bands and artists and ride that wave, whether you like it or not. And in the early 2000s, it was a rock wave. And Planet was doing really well. It was beating the top 40 station in the market. It was beating the country stations in the market. And I think at the time it was a 25,000 watt station, so it wasn't a big 100,000 watt blowtorch, but it was very successful. It had a lot of rock shows coming at the time. Three Doors Down knew the program director of Planet by his first name. And, there were some really down-to-earth bands. You had Kid Rock come to the Cajun Dome. Matchbox 20 come to the Cajun Dome. A lot of those big rock bands.
Fuel, right?
Fuel, yes.
And you had, Two Skinny Jays opened for
Two
them.
Skinny Jays.
Man,
Two Skinny Jays were great.
I love them.
I'm going to have to add some Two Skinny Jays. But, those bands there, Better Than Ezra, 12 Stones, a lot of those kind of local bands too. But rock had really found its place in the early 2000s, and I feel it kind of died off mid 2000s, and that's when more of the hip hop and pop thing kind of took over. You had the Ushers and the Lil Jons and all that stuff, and that wave came, and then now you kind of have a country pop wave.
That's kind of where the rock wave came, you had late 80s, urban cowboy, into the 90s, country was kicking.
Yep.
And we get into those we get into those arguments at our place of work, and a lot of times because I mean, there is such a huge audience for classic country music, and I work with people who are country music fans. Look at me. You know, when people knew I worked for a country station, they're like, you work for a country station? There's no way. You don't look like you would work for a country station. Like, you don't understand. I grew up as a kid. My parents controlled the radio when I was a kid, and they listened to country music up until the mid-'90s. When John got to control the radio, it went way off the rails, but it wasn't country music. And so, but when I listen to the classic country music, I feel like I'm at home. It brings back all of those memories. But country was riding high, and especially in South Louisiana, it was huge. You did have some hip hop. I mean, it was Master P and George Jones.
Right. Yeah.
You know, those were the top two.
It's true, man. And, you know, in high school in the early 90s, you were listening to George Jones and then Pearl Jam and Dr. Dre. I mean, that's how it was.
That was everybody's mix CD.
Yeah.
There was cowboy boots and gold chains and wife beater shirts. You know, that's what it was. Driving around in the pickup truck with Dad's ice chest in the back and the windows rolled down, and we were going mudding, bumping No Limit Soldiers or whatever it was. But anyways, but the rock scene came on as country was dying, and that was always part of the argument where, you know, they're like, well, we got to get newer with this music. You know, we're playing stuff that's too old. Nobody wants to listen to George Jones. And I'm like, bruh, do you know where we're at? Nobody wants to listen to George Jones. Are you kidding me? Well, they say that, but they don't. Do you know where you're at? Go walk down the street and tell somebody that. And then, you know, they're like, well, we got to get younger. How about this song from 1999, 2001? You know, I'm like, dude, you know what I did in 1997, 98, 99? I turned off country music radio and I put it on the planet.
You know, that's where I feel country had sort of started going adult contemporary. You know, you kind of had those Lone Stars, you had those Faith Hills, who were doing okay on the country charts, but then crossing over to the AC side and the soft rock side. But you did have people coming over and turning to the rock side, you know, at that time, whether you were digging Limp Bizkit or Blink 182 or Lit or, you know, insert the band there was just so many, but it was the music that was in the mainstream.
Man, I remember Much Music. I don't know if anybody else caught that in this area. It might have been one of those bootleg satellite issues.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but I remember Much Music, which was like the alternative MTV, but it was based out of Canada. And man, that's where you got a lot of that stuff. So that was my only alternative. Aside from Planet, there was Much Music. Now, Much Music had the Canadians. That's where I found Tegan and Sarah long before they ever had their popularity, when they were still just playing acoustic guitars. But I also got into the punk scene from there, and that's where my love-hate relationship
all right,
with
I wanted
Planet
to get
comes.
to it. Give us that love-hate relationship.
So Planet exploded in popularity, right? And everybody in my let's switch to this camera just for a second, just because. Just changing it up on you. Everybody in my high school at that time, so I'm going, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, we were the perfect demographic for it. Everybody in my high school was listening to Planet. I mean, everybody, even people that weren't rockers, but, you know, they were wearing, again, the outfits, the Jabot jeans and the chains and then the Eminem haircuts. But I mean, they had some that would do the Eminem haircuts, but then spike it up or whatever. And it was a weird
frosted
mix.
tips,
Yes,
stuff like
you got to
that.
frost those tips. And I don't know. But they look like squirrel tails sometimes because they grow the bangs so long, and they would color it. And anyways, I don't know why I got on that tangent.
Memories, man. It comes back to you like that.
That's what the planet does. So everybody was loving it. And I was a big fan of alternative music. I mean, I started digging punk music. Two Skinny Jays, which didn't get as much play on the planet, but they existed. They opened for Fuel, part of still that alternative movement. But I was you know me at this point, when I get into something, I get into it, and I'm a no BS SOB kind of guy. And so I really liked the alternative music. And so I was more, for me, when I heard a lot of things on Planet, I was like, well, Planet's the trendy stuff. Listen to the Dead Kennedys, listen to the Bad Brains, and I got really into the 70s and 80s punk even. But I did love a ton of the music, but that was it, because I was an angsty teenager, just like all the other angsty teenagers, but I had to be even alternative to the alternative because I'm John. And
you had to be, do you?
Yeah, man. And I did me, and I was like, well, I like half of the playlist, but they still don't play the good punk stuff and the, and nobody cares.
Who's this
but me.
Blink 182? Who's the used?
Oh man, I did like Blink though. Blink, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. They had some songs that you could not play on the radio.
Right, I know. There's some subtle titles and lyrics and
But so that's my love-hate relationship, just because I was happy that there was alternative music, and everybody I went to school with liked it. But at the same time, they didn't deep dive into it like I did. They listened to the radio, and that was fine. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times we got our driver's license. Let's go to the mall in Lafayette, and we listened to the Planet all the way there and all the way back.
And now, because with the Planet, I'm only, I'm less than 3 weeks in, right? And you talked about Pandora having 30 songs playing over and over. I think right now I have 300, like in rotation, which, if you probably want to talk radio terms, that's probably considered kind of tight. A little bit, having that much, and I don't find it's that repetitive, but there's a lot of people sampling the station now, so I'm just kind of killing it with some very popular rock hits from the 90s and 2000s. But I want to have some freedom to do different things, and to take some chances, and bring back some nostalgia, but also take some chances on some different things as well, because I have the opportunity to. And I wish, and I didn't have time because of the station, but there was, and I don't want to beat up radio because that's not what this is about, but there was a big conference. I think it happened late last week. Normally, I think it's in LA or something. They had it online due to COVID, so you could buy tickets and watch it online. I wanted to, and I didn't, because there were some higher ups in radio that was talking about, okay, like, we have to look at things now, and we have to figure out something. Now, radio has been in dogfights for as long as I think anybody can remember. MTV was going to kill radio, and video killed the radio star, and XM was going to kill radio, and XM died. They had to merge with Sirius, which wasn't supposed to be done. Like, there was a law that they weren't going to let them merge, and then they ended up repealing that law, and then they merged together just so they can survive. And the numbers that they were talking about at the time were numbers in vehicles that were sitting on lots at car dealerships. So like, they were waiting their numbers. And here's radio.
But it was scary. It was scary at that time. Oh my gosh. It was scary.
Still doing their thing. But now, the game has yet changed again. And you brought up a good point earlier. You know, you want to listen to music, you can pull out that phone and listen to whatever you are in the mood for. If you want to listen to Lil Boosie, you can. If you want to listen to Limp Bizkit, you can. If you want to listen to David Allan Coe, you can. And you can listen to the exact song that you want. And that seminar, that conference, there were going to be some key people in radio talking about that. And I read a little bit about it this morning, and it said, it was something about, you know, radio has been doing the same thing for the past 50 years. It's time to think about something different. And this is a personal opinion for me, and I shared this on somebody else's podcast. You know, until those consultants and those people in higher positions change their mind, nothing's really going to change, because it's just been, that's the way we've done it, and that's the way we're going to do it. And you know, to me, there needs to be a little change with radio.
They're still using, from my personal experience, they're still using radio solutions for the problems that they're faced with that aren't necessarily radio problems anymore.
Right. And I'm hoping that I can go back to that conference and maybe pay like a late fee, and I'm sure they have it on demand somewhere to watch some of that, because I was really interested in what some of these people were going to say. You know, I don't want to give out everything that I want to do on the planet, but you know, you take these stations, whether it's a classic hits type station, classic country station, 80s station, you know, it's you have to find different ways to keep it fresh, because you kind of just have that music to play. You don't really have new music because you're not a new music station. So you have to find different ways to keep it fresh. So I'm thinking about different things and trying to incorporate different things down the road. Like, just try my best to not let it get stale. And you know, even I'll say this. You know, I've been thinking about, you know, like incorporating, not really podcasting onto the station, but you know, like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe there's a weekend
some kind of show or
that's a podcast.
Don't you have a Metallica sponsor or something like that?
I have mandatory Metallica. So that was a big feature again on Planet. I did it doing the night show. Again, wasn't proprietary to this. I talked to somebody in Houston. I believe one of the rock radio stations in Houston still does mandatory Metallica. So I did that, but. You know, so like little things like that, or maybe it's like, you know, a random one-hit wonder that maybe people don't remember, you know, like featuring some of that just to keep it fresh. But I've been toying around with the idea of like some kind of podcast segment.
Yeah. I mean, well, you do a morning show. A night show probably wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah.
Something bringing back up the news of the day or whatever with some spicy content. I mean, one of the biggest radio shows that I remember growing up was like Loveline. You know, and that's one of those things that has gone away. And I'm thinking, man, how was something so popular that gone away? But the conversation hasn't ever stopped. Those conversations still exist today, all of those things, but it's not on radio anymore. And I'm like, why? Because imagine if Loveline was on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
What I mean, the audience would be huge. And also, you were talking about, you can pull up, I just have to make this tangent, okay? You were saying you could pull up anything on YouTube or whatever on the internet and find this song within, like I said, within 3 seconds. And I was like, and you mentioned David Allan Coe, and I was like, probably not that album, right? There's no way YouTube allows that.
It's there. The X-rated David Allan Coe. I mean,
it is there in its entirety. I'm not saying I endorse it, but it does exist on YouTube. And if there's no way they know about it. There's no way they know about it.
It's I mean, everything does exist now, and it's really about what you want to consume. But you know, for me, it's kind of about, you know, bringing back that music, bringing back that nostalgia, because you know, research way back when just kind of showed, when it came to music that, music in your teen years and maybe a little bit later was what you gravitated to.
Right.
And that's sort of like again, what radio followed. Boom, boom, boom. Now, I'm 46. I'm 46. I graduated high school in 1993. Other than some classic country songs on the radio, maybe a handful of rock songs on classic stations, like there's nothing, man. Like there is nothing from back in the day. And you sit and think about it, 2000, the year 2000 was 22 years ago. So if you graduated in 2000 and you were 18, do some quick math. You're how old right now?
I'm not
18
the math
plus
guy.
22 is 40?
My counting ends up at 60, and I go back to 1 because I'm a radio guy. I didn't,
Yeah,
did terrible in math.
Right, but I mean, so that
you got a notification somebody's digging your new app, man.
Oh, there we go. See,
Yeah.
coming over my my text. It's crazy what the past 2 weeks have been, man, and it's just kind of bringing that nostalgia back a bit. I think nostalgia right now has its place in the market. And look, I also feel, nobody wants to get older, but like I feel 60 is the new 40 and 50 is the new 30.
Yeah.
And I look back and, I think when I was a teenager or young and I thought, man, my aunts and uncles were old. And they were in their 30s, man.
Yeah.
And to take a term from Gary V, if you're familiar with Gary V, like you're still just a kid, like it's crazy to think, how much time has passed by, but people still think that the year 2000 was a few years ago, and it wasn't, man. It was 22 years ago. If all things go well with this station, there may be another one that I launch, and if I have time, and it again, it's to fill a hole that no one else is filling.
There is obviously a market for it. I remember talking about it, and there was some other ventures that went on. I know I mentioned that on a previous show, the AMP app, which allows people to DJ. You just go on. I mean, they kind of host the music. It's a little weird, and it's still in like beta mode, so there's not a huge audience there. And I managed to make a little audience, but then I kind of stopped for a while because right now, basically, they're just promoting TikTok users. They're promoting their own content, that's what you see from a lot of social media platforms where they either want to branch, they seed. What seeding is. They seed. And so a lot of it is seeding, and a bunch of people are on the app when whatever TikTok store or Nicki Minaj, or I don't know if it's Nicki, it's one of the big hip hop people are on there. And if they're not on there, then there's hardly anybody on the app. But when they are on there, sometimes you can suck some of those viewers. And, we did okay, but it's got to get out of beta mode. But there's so many different things you can do technology-wise that we weren't able to do. I mean, I'm sure if even if we had the foresight, there's no way we could do this show 10 years ago.
Right.
I was doing podcasting, but I was on MySpace doing like little 10-minute audio clips, and I was putting them on a MySpace page. But the technology is here now, and there's definitely a demand for it. And again, we have to take the creativity back. It's available for you. It's available for you watching this. If the hair on your arm starts to stand up and you get this idea that I want to do something, do it, man. It's cheaper than ever. It's more... it's at your fingertips. Get out and take creativity back. Don't let them dictate to you what's popular, what we should be talking about. Just have fun, man. Like, that's literally what I'm doing on this show.
Yep.
We brought out the Basil Haydens here.
Drinking it in coffee mugs.
Of course, you got the
I do
Cobra
have the
Kai.
Cobra Kai. I'm a big Karate Kid fan. I am. But man, you're right. The internet just leveled that playing field, and also took normal people. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But back in the day, you had to be a media person, an actor, an actress, a sports star, or something to have a following.
Yep.
And now, dude, I mean, there's people on TikTok or Instagram, insert whatever social media platform, who have millions of people at their fingertips. Yep. Millions of people at their fingertips. That is crazy. And coming back to technology, and I'll just talk about this real quick. This blew my mind. We're talking about podcasting. There is this app that you can use, and I still, my production desk is there, but with my podcast clients, can't see it. But I am doing manual editing. So I'm doing with my digital audio workstation. I'm editing these podcasts. But podcasting has become so popular. People want to do it. They may not know all the back end stuff,
right,
which is why I'm helping a lot of people do that. They don't know how to record, Chris Logan Media. They don't know how to edit. And I'm putting my foot in my mouth here, but if we're talking about technology, there is this app where you upload your audio podcast track, and it converts it transcripts it to very similar to a Word doc.
Yes.
And it's built on artificial intelligence. And if you want to edit, if I said something here, upload this audio, I can highlight what I said wrong, hit delete. So it deletes it on this Word doc, and it deletes it off the audio.
Wow, man.
After
I thought you were, for some reason, I
no.
thought you were talking about transcribing, because I'm like, we transcribe radio spots.
And look,
that is insane.
Yes,
I did not know that.
Yes.
Holy cow, you just blew my mind.
So it also, and
nuts.
this is kind of scary too. So after a while, and I'm not sure if this was with a full-on app or if it's a beta version, but after a while, you keep using this to edit your podcast, the artificial intelligence learns your voice. So if you missed saying something, you simply type it into the Word doc, and it adds it to your podcast.
Now, I've seen they were doing some freaky stuff with that. It was it Adobe where they were doing it? I've seen Adobe doing some crazy stuff like that, but it wasn't quite to that level, but of course they are.
I'll give it. I mean, it's Descript.com is what it's called.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, that's.
I tried it. Now I do multiple people on podcasting.
Right.
That was a little crazy. So, but if you're doing a podcast by yourself, dude, this thing, like, you upload your audio, it would edit it. You could cut, you could add, you can master it. It was all there. All there. And just this internet thing, man, has leveled the playing field. It made it even for everybody that wants to take a chance, whether it's drop shipping or buying stuff from Marshalls and reselling it on Amazon, or flipping yard sale stuff. I mean, whatever it is, man, like, go after it. Go after it. Like, let me ask you this.
And if you need help, this guy can help you.
If you were 18 years old right now, so back in the day, you were 16, 17, 18, you would get a job at maybe your local supermarket or Winn-Dixie, or you would go to a fast food restaurant and you would flip some burgers. Would you go do a minimum wage job right now if you're a young kid, or would you be trying something on the internet?
You got to try it on the internet, man.
There's so much to do, man. There's so much to do.
And that's where the creativity is.
You take a website like Fiverr. Fiverr. That's where I got my voice girl for the station. She is great. She is fantastic. I am paying pennies. And I mean that with all due respect, but I'm compared to these major voice guys that we used to pay for radio, I am not paying her much, and she is knocking stuff out. There's people who will do your taxes on Fiverr. I mean, if
and they
you
do it
were
for the love of the
willing to
game
grind it out,
sometimes,
it's there. You could read audiobooks and make hundreds of dollars. Like, it's just crazy, man.
This was a stupid purchase I made. I mean, I don't. We're on that camera, so I can kind of put it up maybe. So I was playing with some coasters I had at the house, and my memory triggered, and I remember going to my grandma's house all these years ago. I was probably 5 or 6, and she had this coaster set that I would use.
I remember
Everybody
those.
had those, and I would play with them because you could put them in and out of the,
like a little
the
drawer.
box again. And obviously, I went on eBay and I bought them. Like when you were like, oh, you can just go pick some stuff, put it on the internet, and sell it. There's so many possibilities that I don't know.
Cards, sports cards, crazy.
We have a
right
buddy
now.
who is going nuts
crazy right
on
now.
that right now. He's like, you got any boxes? I need to store stuff.
Yeah.
You got any weird? You shop on Amazon, right? You got some weird shaped boxes I can store cards in.
Crazy.
You know what I'm talking about.
Crazy, but yeah, the Planet. Listen to theplanet.com is the website. My website's nothing crazy. I didn't want it to be.
It gets the job done.
Yes, I didn't want it to be anything crazy. I don't plan on doing much content there. If I would decide, now that I legally can do some kind of podcast, band interviews, something like that, that's going to be on the website. But I don't plan on doing, any stories or local content or stuff like that. It has how to follow the Planet on social media. Got the links there. The talk and text line that I have, email address.
What's the talk and text line?
So that is a phone line that I have set up. What is the number? I'd have to go and see. I think it's 337-227-0365, if I remember right. I think that's what it is. But yeah, so I have that set up. If people just want to text a request in, just say what's up. I've been getting some text there. So that's available. Social media is available. iHeart platform, search for Listen to the Planet. Apple, Google Play, search for Listen to the Planet. These apps are free. You don't have to pay for it. Big thanks to all the sponsors who kind of came aboard, and a lot of them, man, just came to me and said, I want to support you. And just people messaging me saying, look, I'm not going to be, I don't want to be a sponsor, but I dig what you're doing. How can I help you?
Yeah. Do you have anything like down the pike coming up that you are willing to let us know about? Whether you mentioned a band kind of wanted to do an interview.
I'm thinking that could be someplace where I can go quickly. Some kind of audio podcast, whether it is interviewing a few bands. Heath from Spank the Monkey, those guys, were really on board. That was a band that the
Huge.
original Planet Radio helped break, and Heath was all about it, and he was like, hell yeah, man, just let me know what you need. But I think maybe, like revisiting some of these older local bands that still could be doing their thing, that could be something that I can do. But, also doing it on a podcast platform, having it on the website, but also having it on the air. Why not? Why not have it on the air and have it on the station?
Do it.
There's nobody can tell me no, right?
You do. And I did a little online radio station for a while, which was just me and my friends' music and some other stuff, and linked to a Canadian music blog, and we would do their music there too. And I had scheduled times where I would do shows, and if you missed it, oh well, you can still catch it here and there. Yeah. But at times you still would have set times, set programmings here and there. Man, there was something else I wanted to ask, and I don't remember what it is.
Uh-oh. And you only had one little bit of, we didn't get too much.
No, don't turn the bottle sideways.
The Basil Hayden?
So
was it something about the station?
No, I know what I wanted to get into. Because we're at that point where you may want to pour another shot in there.
Uh-oh.
I know there's some stories, and those of you who are true Planet fans, we may have to put like a timestamp to come to this. There are some funny stories. I don't know how many you can share. We don't want to. We can do fake names to protect the innocent.
Right.
But tell us about some of those stories, being a jock in the Planet Radio days, the remotes, and some of the crazy stuff that went on that some of the audience may not know and some of them may slightly remember. I know y'all got stories, crazy ones.
Two things come to mind right off the bat. One was when I met Kid Rock at the Cajun Dome.
Wow.
Okay, look.
And that's a memorable experience. Did you meet his band of misfits as well?
No,
Just Kid. Okay.
It wasn't Kid.
Okay.
It was Bob. And it threw me for a loop.
Oh.
And it also threw my wife for a loop. So we're with our record label guy. I think his name was Michael. Anyway, so we're there from the station. I forgot at which show, because he had did two shows at the Cajun Dome pretty close to each other. This was the show where he had the Airstream trailer on stage. He had pyro. I mean, he had really went all out with this. And our record label guy for Atlantic was like, hey, man, y'all want to come and meet Kid Rock, before the show? And we're like, okay, yeah. That was some of the perks. We didn't make a lot of money. That's one of the misconceptions about radio. Radio people don't make a lot of money.
The biggest misconception of them all.
But those perks we take advantage of.
Yeah.
So my wife was with us, and so we go in the back, and look, these meet and greets in the back, they're not like what's on Wayne's World. You don't have this all access pass, and you just walk around the back stage like you want to. That's not how it is. I mean, maybe back in the day it was, but late 90s, early 2000s, all that stuff was really more structured. You kind of go in this room and the artist comes in. Most times you don't get to talk to them. They're sitting at a table and you walk by and you hand them something to sign, maybe take a picture, boom, and you're done. But being a part of the station, you had a little more time with some of these artists. And I remember us being in the back.
With Bob.
And, yep. And the record label guy goes, all right, cool, Bob's about to come out. And I'm like, okay. And then my wife looks at me thinking, like, are we meeting someone else? Is there an opening group that we don't know about? And so here walks this dude. He got this button-down, like, old-school Western shirt that's almost all the way unbuttoned. He got some black Adidas pants and some flip-flops on, and his hair is wet. And then our record label guy goes, Bob, that's Chris. That's his wife, Jenny. This is so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, crap. That's Bob. And it was freaking Kid Rock, man, but it just, and to this day, my wife still brings up that story. She was like, remember when we met Bob? And I'm like, yeah, I remember when we met Bob. Bob Ritchie. That was Kid Rock's real name. And she wanted to tell him, she forgot, because she got not a little starstruck, but meeting some of these people, you are a little starstruck. And she wanted to tell him that I loved you in Joe Dirt, because remember he had the part in Joe Dirt where he was, yes. So that was a weird.
How about we bring you to McDonald's so you can get a Wham burger and some French fries.
Well, he had such a cheesy role in Joe Dirt, but that was a funny story about Bob. The second story that always gets me, and because I was a newbie radio guy, and always wanted to do the right thing. I was doing a live broadcast at Bennigan's for Blarney Blast.
Oh, man, that's got some wacky memories for me. Oh, okay. One. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got one stupid Blarney Blast story, because this is how some of those events get. This is from an outsider. I wasn't part of any station at this point in deal, but we had flip phones at the time, and somehow when I think it was Bag of Donuts was shooting the toilet paper rolls at everybody.
Yep.
I lost the top half of my flip phone. And so there was this really young, attractive girl next to me, and I knew I had no shot in the world with her, okay? But at this point, I'm a few Budweisers in, and I just think it's a hilarious joke. I just think the joke is hilarious. I know she doesn't want anything to do with me, right? So I go up to her, and I'm like, with half of my flip phone, the wires are sticking out and,
dude.
crossing. And I'm like, you're kind of hot. Can I get your number? And I'm like, and she just looks at me, and I don't say anything, but I kind of, show the phone to her like that. She kind of laughs and turns away, but I thought it was hilarious. That's the type of Blarney Blast.
Blarney Blast,
parties.
man. Maybe somebody should bring that back too. I don't know. So this was probably one of my first live broadcasts. Back then we had this piece of equipment called a Marty. The Marty was on a frequency.
We still have those. What are you talking about?
we had to take this big long antenna, put it down on this base and back the vehicle over it to where the tire stayed over this base, and we had to pick up the antenna, shoot it back to the station, and that's how we did the live broadcast. So we were doing it really with the microphone, and you could put people on the air back then. After this one time, I don't remember if I put anybody on the air again. So I'm talking about Blarney Blast. Hey, it's Chris Logan. We're at Bennigan's. It's Blarney Blast, probably, 2001. Bag of Donuts, probably on stage, whoever else. Green beer, because green beer. And there was a couple people there hanging out, talking, because we had citizens back then. And so I forget the dude's name, and I'm like, are you having a good time? Right? So it was like this. Are you having a good time? And he goes, I'm having a effing blast. You ever had stuff happen to you and then the world gets like slow motion? Like things start happening in slow motion. And I just have all these thoughts running through my head. Like, man, I really wanted to be in radio. I'm going to lose my job now. Like, what's going to happen?
That was planted, though. I mean, that's...
Right. And so, like, I just took the microphone back, and I kept on doing what I was doing. Like, I didn't draw any attention to it. I didn't say, you idiot. Like, why did you do that? I didn't stop. Like, it
didn't happen. You just keep rolling with the punches.
It didn't happen. I just kept on going. And
sounds like they're saying, let's go, Brandon.
Yeah. That was before Brandon. But dude, I just took the mic back and went on, whatever it was, Monte Cristo sandwiches, at Bennigan's.
It's the best thing they had on the menu, man.
The green beer. And dude, to this day, I really don't know if management heard that. I think it was a Saturday afternoon, so I believe it was probably a part-timer who was back at the station. We'd call it running the board. Mm-hmm. I think it was a part-timer. I may have told that person, look, that never happened, and I don't think I got in trouble for it. I don't think I did. That was one of my most memorable radio moments.
I've had a handful too. I don't think any of them involve the F word, although one of my favorites whatsoever. It's not even me. I'm about to tell on someone. I was training him, and I was letting him do a promo, but I was letting him do it live, and I was like, you go in, you read this, and then when you're done, you go into commercial break. And
you hit the green button. Green start, red stop.
Yeah, he's going, man. And he's reading the promo. And kids, plug your ears. When he's done, he gets to the last line, and he's like, on blah, 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 blah. And he hits the button on channel 2, which is not the mic. Channel 1 is always the mic. He hits the button on channel 2. He thought he turned the mic off, and he did. Got that shit. And I'm just sitting there going, no.
No, you don't.
I'm like, I'm going to say his name. I'm like, I'm not protecting the name to protect the innocent. Dirk, turn the mic off, bro. And he's like, oh, dude. It's one of those. There's a millions of those. And Diana Dorta spilt a whole carton of milk in the keyboard. And Mark, that's why you had to buy a new one. All right, we're getting towards the end of this spectacular.
Yeah, no. Now we got to go.
We get donuts in the morning, right? Because it's a radio station. You get free donuts on Saturday. And Diana spilt a whole carton of milk because she had the donuts. She was running the syndicated Casey Kasem or Goddard's Gold or whatever it was.
Morning Saturday
right
show.
into the keyboard. And so Monday morning, Mark's like, why isn't this working? I don't know.
Nothing but like white crumbs.
Dried up white milk. I don't know.
Never had that happen.
Call ISS.
Look, watch. Let me show you this.
All right, he's leaving.
Real quick. So the most pain I have ever felt on the air.
Oh my God!
I was on Planet,
Feedback.
right?
You got.
So this is, we have our headphones on when we're in the studio. Headphones were down. And we had these. These are my all-time favorite headphones. These are some Sony 7506s. So they were in the studio, boom, like that. It's almost time for me to talk. I pick it up, and it does like this, and it slips out my hand, and this hits me right there above the eye, like right in my eyebrow on the bone. And again, just like the Blarney Blast situation, slow motion happens. I'm in pain, and I do my break. And I think, and that was, before the time where stuff was real, you did your professional job on the air, but, I just got hit in the eye with a dang pair of headphones. Like, I should have talked about that. You know what I mean? That realness that should come across. It doesn't always come across. But most pain I felt on the air was a pair of headphones popping me right there in my eyebrow.
Man, I used to have.
Now you can wrap it up if you.
I used to have people tickling me when I was trying to read the weather and all of that.
Yeah.
That was the fun days.
Funny was
people
putting aluminum foil. So like people would do this around like back when I started doing the morning show. Like that was this was always a trick. This foam piece would come off the microphone like that. So I mean it wasn't a microphone like this, but all microphones had this windscreen on it. So to mess with people.
My God.
One very
No, they didn't.
Very popular country DJ who recently passed away. One of the greatest dudes ever. That was his trick. He would take aluminum foil or something and put it over this part of the microphone and then put the foam in the windscreen back. And it would come out over the air. It would just sound bad. And you didn't know where to start. Like you didn't think that there was a freaking piece of aluminum foil here. You thought it was a cable. You call in the engineer, and then he's killing himself laughing.
All those radio stories that
oh, dude.
There's a whole lot more than I can't say here. Not until I get fired, and then I will light everybody up. That's it.
You just talked about the spilled milk.
Well, that's Diana, and Diana loves me, maybe. I think she's all right. Man, at one time, I think she was working as a QVC model in Florida. Like, I think she was actually on TV modeling stuff. She's done quite well. I don't think she cares if I tell anybody that she spilt milk into the keyboard. She's done quite well. I wish her the best and her family the best. They got the last I seen, haven't heard from her in years, but it looked like they had a nice, big, beautiful family. So
nice.
Awesome. I guess we'll wrap this up. Chris, Logan Media. So look, a little bit of the foreshot there.
Right there. Mm-hmm.
You got the studios here. You're doing Also, social media monitoring a little bit more. Let them know what they can get from you if they want to sign up for that.
Like social media management, it's what I'm doing. I do that for a good number of businesses. So we come up with content and ideas for their brand. I manage all that stuff. I come up with the content, come up with the graphics or pictures, do that for them. That's a huge part of what I'm doing right now. And in this podcast studio here, again, I wasn't aggressively pursuing it, but I do now have a handful of podcasting clients. So that's going to kind of get off the ground. And then the Planet, which is right there on that side of the studio, which I don't think we have a shot of, but that's there. Again, the best way to go to get all the links and all that stuff, even listen to theplanet.com. But if you dig or you're missing 90s and 2000s rock, that's your place.
Absolutely. And he doesn't drink on the job. This is my podcast.
Yes. So I had to, you're using my cups, but we're drinking Basil Hayes.
Cobra Kai and Saints there. Yeah. I was about to break out the Dixie cups, but he found these instead.
Go with the
works.
coffee cups.
Lanyap Show, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube now. There may be another BattleBots video coming for you BattleBots fans. I don't know where that went, but it worked out a little bit for
that's cool.
A week or two. And no, it's not cool at all. It's very nerdy, but I am one, so that works. And everywhere the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts, you can get one. And I have no idea what we're doing next week, but I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you joining me,
anytime.
sharing the afternoon, and y'all hit them up and listen to the Planet. That's the perfect name. How do I listen to your? Well, you go to listentotheplanet.com. Get the app. Everything you need is right there.
Yep. Thank you, man.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Peace out.